2014, we had a 6.0 earthquake in Napa. And it's actually the biggest earthquake since 1989, since AB 939. So I guess we can call this the first, diversion earthquake in Northern California. So obviously, there'll be more earthquakes, and so hopefully you can get some lessons from what we dealt with the 7,400 tons of debris that we collected and processed after the earthquake. So, and we'll talk a little bit about the EWaste, because that was a specific thing that we really noticed a lot of. And this is just one of a picture of our debris sites that we had at the bottom. And there's the city of Napa kind of had to deal with FEMA and the costs. And if you're interested in that, Chris Shoup from the city of Napa is here, and Kevin Miller also, who's not here, can always give you more information on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the lessons we learned. First off, about contamination in carts. So the earthquake, 6.0 was enough to break a lot of dishes and windows. Not a widespread structural damage, but there was a lot of structural damage. So, but a lot of people could kind of clean up in place. And so what we had was a lot of material going into carts for regular pickup. And this happened right away. It was a Sunday morning, and so we got material in the carts starting that Monday morning. And what we found out was our recycling carts were completely full of dishes and broken glass. And so, it's something that's in all of our outreach, right? We can't put broken dishes and drinking glasses in the recycling, but you realize that people are doing it. You're just not noticing it because it's a small enough amount, and it's just kind of dealt with as contamination. But we don't want that material in the glass. It melts at different temperatures. The ceramics are a pretty bad problem in large amounts. So we actually had to send recycling trucks to the landfill for a week, and then coupled that with a lot of bricks and concrete into our compost carts, which I think kind of caught us a little bit by surprise. But I guess people sort of think that that's a compostable material, maybe a rock. And so we actually had to divert a couple hundred tons of our yard waste compost carts, our routes to landfill. So we lost about 900 tons of material on those routes that had to go and get thrown away. And that's a cost. And obviously that month was our diversion rate for the city of Napa went down 10% that month, which is interesting. And that kind of shows you and so in the future, being proactive about this, really think about this, is that's our mailer that went out after the fact. But maybe don't be after the fact. Be now proactive and talk about it a little bit more in your outreach now, but also right away. This is our Facebook page. I was posting just, in the days after. And I don't know if you can read some of the responses that people put on there about that tip is like, oh, wish they heard this yesterday. Or like classic Facebook, guess I would if there was room. So you're obviously going to have to deal with a lot of issues when there's an earthquake. But people really pay attention to social media in the time of like an earthquake or some specific event, we've noticed. And, we post tips on Facebook and Twitter, and you don't get a lot of hits. But we got, over 2,000 impressions pretty quickly after the earthquake. And the city of Napa also has their Nixle communication system, which pushes emails to people. And so really think about kind of talking about these things in social media now, but also right when something like this happens, kind of being on it and talking about what not to put in your recycling carts, and have alternatives. Like you can go to the debris sites, which we had. There's a picture from a TV news report about it. But kind of also put in your trash container and things like that. So I talked about EWaste. So one of the interesting things, last time there were earthquakes, 1989, you had a way heavier TV, a CRT. They don't tip over as easy. So we all have flat screens, computers, and TVs. And a lot of times they're not bolted into the wall. There's your public service reminder to bolt your TV down. But so there's one of our loads from that was like a day or two of EWaste from the earthquake right there at the bottom. So 187 tons, which is like 4 times the amount that we would normally deal with. At least we can recycle these, and they were easy to pull out. And we have a curbside pickup, which I talked about a few years ago at RU. It's free curbside pickup all the time of TVs and computers and e-waste, and we were able to utilize that truck to just go out, run routes constantly at debris drop sites, and also for people who are making appointments to pick up a lot of those. But that was one of those things that you're going to deal with in this situation with just the nature of what TVs and computers have turned into. This is one of the debris sites we kind of managed with the city of Napa, and it was evolving, and we kind of got to the point where you had to have fewer sites, but with more monitoring so that we could divert debris, so that the TV and the lumber and the bricks from the chimney and everything weren't in a big pile. And in this case, you had a few places that were staffed so that we could separate bricks out and separate e-waste, separate out the illegally dumped items like household hazardous waste and things that were getting left there. So just kind of managing material after a day or two of, because we had debris sites for almost 2 months afterwards, because people were making repairs over time, and so we had these sites, so we were able to divert more material over time as we kind of got our system set up. This is at a coupon, and we realized also that it was good to push material to our facilities where we can handle material, and so we sent out coupons for bulky item drop-offs at our recycling facility, and also for delivering loads to the transfer station for C&D sorting, and this is a coupon that went out. We also got some help from Paint Care, for instance, offered additional resources at the paint stores in town for extra paint that was being dropped off, so that was great, and just kind of utilizing systems that you already have in place for the e-waste and for other materials was really important. The grocery stores are a little bit tricky, and so these were the folks that we had. These are actually pictures from Napa, and they were kind of the people we had to deal with first. They had a lot of damaged goods, and also they kind of have to clean up right away. And so that morning, it was a Sunday morning by 7 a.m., we had debris boxes on site, and this stuff was all packaged material. You know, you had wine bottles, all this food that ended up getting landfilled. And I kind of think about this in the terms of sort of food recovery in general. It's going to be hard to kind of rescue this food, but we're looking at depackaging equipment, kind of to be able to deal with material from grocery stores. That's just kind of in general. And in the future, we're going to be able to utilize that in a situation like this. Like, we could collect a load of packaged food that needed to be composted and at least depackage it. And that's kind of where AB 1826 comes in, and maybe in the future we'll be able to prepare and divert material if this happens again. We already do that with wine and crushing the bottles and recycling them, but a lot of the food was not able to be diverted. So I did want to touch on other natural disasters, because we have those in California, and this is actually a picture from our flood in Napa, New Year's 2006. Those are one of our carts and one of our bins floating down the street. And, flood material is in some ways going to be even trickier to divert, because a lot of it's like wet carpet and things that are nasty like that. But we do have the same things with the earthquake, where you have damaged appliances and e-waste, and kind of working to divert that at drop sites. I put a little thing at the bottom there because when you think about your programs and kind of the weather, we all have compost programs that typically in California, you don't think about this maybe, but they deal with the most amount of yard waste in the fall when all the leaves come off the trees, and like a windstorm or some kind of wind event or rainstorm. And that's how like the weather is affecting us on a daily basis. And kind of we have to add trucks, and you have to add pickups during that. So kind of looking at the planning and kind of planning for down trees and being able to divert those to composting as opposed to the landfill are important. This is a picture from the Valley Fire over the summer up in Lake County, and those are the carts of one of our sister company. And actually, the house didn't burn, but the carts did, so that's good, right? Wildfire debris. We didn't have any direct connection with the Valley Fire or the other fires. I know Cal Recycle was working on a lot of the hazardous waste remediation, but you do want to think about the defensible space and diverting materials, and as you're doing wildfire preparation, and being able to compost that yard material and kind of include it in that disaster management, and ways to pick it up or drop it off so that you could divert that material, so we don't have homes burning down and having to deal with the fire debris. And then I know Michael Gross is going to talk about this biomass industry and like dealing with wood. So I did want to put it in there because obviously with the drought and trees dying, we're have even more wood waste material, and I'll leave it to him later on as I'm out of time. So I just wanted to kind of say a lot of the planning really kind of focuses on our everyday programs and being out ahead of it, and that's kind of one of the big things we learned about it. So next time when we have it, because it's going to inevitably happen, we can divert more material and not send as much to the landfill.
We have time for 2 questions. Okay, Mary Lou.
Yeah, so the question is, what yards, what debris sites do we have available? And that's kind of utilizing existing spaces. So we utilized school parking lots, an empty city lot in one case where they were going to build a fire station, having places in town because our facility is 9 miles out of town, and so you weren't going to get everybody wanting to transport it down there. So yeah, we had some places that we had used in prior earthquakes, mostly schools and kind of city lots to be able to process material. And it moved to kind of empty lots in places like that where we could be able to sort it and handle it. Yeah, in some cases we were just doing it fly by night and figuring it out on the fly. And that's one of the planning things that we need to know for the next time is how to have fewer sites but more well managed.
Plan for eminent domain. Mark Gagliardi.
Is anyone aware of enhanced planning efforts to address that reality, floods, droughts, etc.?
I am not, but there should be. So I think it's something we should invest in.
Get to work on that, Mark.